out here at Millerdale Colony with Robert, the farm manager, looking at some beans. It's now September 6th today, and it's amazing. We were out here about 2 weeks ago, and the beans were green from top to bottom and uniform across the field. And in that last 2 weeks now, we haven't had any rain, and we're getting some desiccation on the beans. They're starting to mature, and we're looking at some of the soil here that Robert's got. And one of the things we notice is look at how aggregated this soil is. It's, even though it's been dry, you see the moisture that's here and the aggregation. It really crumbles apart. It's really in pretty good shape.
And you see no sharp edges when you break it apart.
That's right.
It breaks.
But it still has a lot of moisture in it, doesn't it?
It feels like it.
Yeah. And you look at the soybean roots that we got here. You see they're nice and healthy. There's no desiccation on them, nodulation. You can see the nodules on here. And but again, look at how they're green from top to bottom. There's not a lot of dead leaves on the bottom, even here. What's the maturity group on these beans, Robert?
0.9 Sagentas.
0.9 Sagentas, okay.
Yeah, good harvest.
Okay, so
that's a nice bean.
It's a nice bean. So, what have you noticed in the beans? You've been on the program, kind of working it the last 2-3 years. Yeah. Now, tell us what you did out here in this bean field. What was the program?
We had 10 gallons of compost manure on here with 42 ounces of the micro mix starter plus, what you call, and 5 ounces of the micronutrient mix. Yep. And that's all I had.
And then did we had renewal on this too?
The renewal
was in the mixture too.
The mix.
Okay. So what have you been seeing the last 2 years in the program? Like this bean field here, as compared to all the other fields in the area, has it been more uniform?
I don't know. I couldn't say how they were last year.
Okay.
I'm new in it,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, but this year they were more uniform.
And I don't have bug problem. I looked. I have a few grasshoppers on the end.
Yeah. But again, the plant is, you see, there's not much bug activity at all. They're green, pretty good health. You have any yield expectation on this field here?
I am guessing it'll do 30,
30?
35.
35, okay.
Looks good.
There's a lot of mainly 3-bean pods on these plants too. You're not seeing a lot of 2-bean pods, and what is on that plant, they're all filled.
Yeah. So again, it looks like it's going to hold on to everything. You know, on soybeans, it's a number of nodes where we have the pods, the raceme flowers. It's a number of nodes, number of pods per node, number of beans per pod, and the size of the bean in the pod that determine yield. So the more 3-bond pods you have and the more you got per node, obviously the better yield potential.
And see, they filled, all of them filled. This one didn't. This going to abort this one, but
yeah, there's one that's going to abort right there, but yeah. But again, Dennis, what's your impression of the soil?
You're not lacking any moisture here either. There's still some moisture in that ground. It's good and aggregated. And what I like to do is I like to smell it, and it's got that nice garden fresh smell. Yeah,
it does. Yeah.
And that's kind of a sign of biology. You can tell on a soil that you haven't been working with on the biology side, it'll have kind of a sour smell to it almost, and it just doesn't smell fresh.
And it won't crumble in your hand and break down, and it doesn't retain the moisture. It's more sharp edges, more solid.
Right.
Doesn't have that aroma of biology working in it, living in it.
Like Robert was saying, the angular edges, that's another good sign. If you have, you know, when you break the clods apart and there's real sharp edges, like Robert was saying, that's a sign that you've really got some compaction issues, you're lacking biology, and we need to start working on those soils.
So what we've been doing here at Millerdale is, you know, over a period of time, just gradually working into the full circle program, which is, again, because of all their livestock, really it involves the animal side with probiotic feed additives, water revitalization, getting the right quality water in the animal, manure treatment. And what we want, why we want to treat this manure is to get the salt levels down, get it pre-digested, and retain more of the nutrient. And then also it's more liquid, and when it spreads in the field, it spreads more uniform. And all that has an impact then on agronomic performance over time, reducing even the salt levels in alkaline areas in the field, reducing weed and insect pressures, reducing input cost. And you know, so that's all part of the program. It's evolving into a complete program, and of course on the corn side, being able to bring better feed quality back into the animal.
And the thing is, we've only had, what'd you say, like 10 inches of rain this whole year? 11?
We had 15 inches.
15, okay.
But there was more, that rain was in spring.
Before we even planted.
June, yeah.
Yeah, we had, you said like 4.5 inches in one shot in March. So effectively the crop has probably had 10 or less.
How much rain
inches.
have you had here in let's say the last month and a half, 2 months, roughly?
I would guess probably an inch and a half.
Okay. So with an inch and a half, Dennis, and grab some of that soil again and bring that up. You know, when you're looking at an inch and a half in this time of year, and the temperatures have been, you know, hot this summer.
Look how I can just dig in there.
Yeah, dig down in there.
And this is
But look at the
bone
moisture.
dry.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as moisture, we haven't had hardly any moisture. Look at that aggregation. It looks just like coffee grounds, and it's, I mean, that's a tremendous sign of biology. And
now, one of the benefits, Dennis, of the bioaugmentation of manure is, as I said, is to drop the salt levels, but also get all that biology going. All the biology in that manure, when you put that in the soil, continues to thrive and produce the effects that we're seeing right here.
And if you got the biology going, if you get the rainfall at one time, it'll hold that moisture too during
Right.
the summer.
Right.
That's what you want.
Right around the plant, we call that the rhizosphere, and there's a lot of biological activity, and those little microbes will hold that moisture. It helps build soil structure, so and you start building humus, which holds moisture, so it's all part of it. And when you get a system working that way, it's more efficient in water utilization.
we have more root hairs. There's not a lot of root hairs on these plants, but there are some. And you don't see a lot of root hairs on soybeans in general, but there are a few root hairs in here. And the more root hairs you have, the more you'll have better nutrient uptake, better water uptake, and definitely better chance of building humus, because those microbes can really break down those little fine root hairs much easier than these bigger, thicker roots.
Yeah. It's all about, really, when we look at the program, the full circle, is about achieving balance. And the key to achieving balance is to get your microbes working for you. And below ground is a complete what we call soil food web. It starts with bacteria, fungi, actinomyces, and just works on up, just like the fish, little fish in the ocean, and the bigger fish eat them, and it moves up the chain. And that's what's working in our soils that really make things happen down there and make for plant health and don't allow the pathogens or the diseases to get established. So again, these beans here are potting pretty good, considering the moisture content that we've had so far this summer during the growing season. Don't you think, Dennis?
Absolutely.
Yeah.